Hello and welcome to This Contains Garlic. You are here with your host Georgia Garlic
Mark Garlic.
and we are back for episode 18.
Still no jingle. I'm sorry, but it's a work in
We
progress.
can only apologise now. I don't think you can even put an excuse on that, Mark. It's work in progress. We've had
I'm thinking
a
maybe a
lot
bit
going
of
on.
auto tune, a bit of acapella. We were just before we were setting the microphones up. Georgia and I were trying to harmonise.
Yeah, we do that just to make sure the microphones are working. We should probably film the start part of what we actually do for a podcast because it is a little bit like me to you, me to you, to me to you, you to me.
Yeah. Wow. So what's been going on?
We actually been quite successful last couple of weeks, I guess. We've
What's
obviously
your definition of success?
I love that. Like, you don't need to put me on the spot. We obviously have set ourselves some goals, personal goals. Those that are along for the journey are already part of a group on Facebook. But no, so far so good. Like, we're feeling good. We've been eating really good food. We've been
Yeah.
training really fucking hard.
Georgia's been cooking some slap up meals.
Can you not use that word slap up? Do you know
Okay,
what I mean?
it could be quite.
You were about to say
controversial.
banging, weren't you? And that's even worse.
Some banging, yeah, sound a bit 2003 if you
Yeah, I
like banging
know.
meals.
But yeah, no, so far I haven't been like bullied in the gym any longer, which
The lady was there today with her pale face looking like Wendy Adams.
she does look
That's
like an
how
Adams
I
child.
found-
It's
that's-
so rude that we've said that.
I
Actually.
know, but
she was really rude to me. So
we're allowed to be rude back.
but she does look like an Adams child.
She looks like she needs some vitamin D.
Oh, don't we all need some vitamin D, Mark? Mark's
Everybody needs
definition
a
of
bit
D
of
is
D.
very different.
Yeah, you've got unlimited supply of D if you need it.
God, thank you, Mark. I love being married. Anyway, today we are going to talk about, I guess, measuring progress for yourself rather than anybody else. Now, I think more often than not, with the way that life runs for people of all different ages now, we do spend a lot of time comparing ourselves to others, listening to non-professionals and what they've done to then mark rulers in your life as to what you should be doing or how you should do it or why you haven't done it.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we also want to cover, which is if you're a PT or you're in the industry, you've definitely had this conversation with a client when you're trying to teach a certain method or coach a certain way, and they come to you and they said, "Oh, have you seen this on X social media platform? I think X, Y, and Z because, Kim Kardashian said something, or some insert some A to Z list celebrity pushing some form of agenda."
I also think it
And-
can come from a lot of family members passing judgment on the sense of what they think you should do or why you haven't done something a
Well, I
way
guess
that they're used to.
the main thing is obviously being influenced by some random person on a social media platform or any platform, whether it's a Netflix documentary or any form of media, where you are taking and molding your choices based off other people's personal progression.
I just like to also point out that, like, I am very switched on to this. I've not only dealt with people that are the names on social media in the sense of clients, but I've also dealt with the population that get immersed massively into it. And I think, it's one of these things where we always try and search, as we always say, to like the next best thing or what somebody else is doing. But like more often than not, like the person that you're taking that information from doesn't have a fucking clue. And I think for professionals like what we are, like we've done this for many, many years. For a lot of people and a lot of clients, we're not just their coach, we're literally their psychologist. We're qualified in a number of different brackets. And sometimes even clients still do it. Like, do you follow X? Have you seen this? Like, there are tens and thousands, if not millions, I would put out there, of health, fitness, well-being, or whatever, trainers, coaches, therapists out there. we don't know everybody. We very much focus in our own lane, and we always have done. And I think a lot of people always assume that because somebody's done something on Instagram or somebody's done something on Facebook or Twitter,
Yeah.
that you automatically know what they're talking
Yeah.
about. And I actually was just in the gym literally an hour ago, and I was listening to a female client talk to her male trainer about the fact that she thought she'd seen that EMS training, which is obviously electrical stimulation training, would have been far more beneficial for her building
Yeah,
muscle
yeah,
than
and
what
then-
he had programmed for her. And
And
he
then
obviously knew.
inserting things like, well, this is the, one lunge during EMS is the equivalent of 10,000 or
Such a
4,000.
large statement.
Do you know what I mean? And you can get an effective workout in 20 minutes compared to an hour. And, it's not only that, but it's a vast variety of, nutritional fads or
Just being influenced in general by
products,
people's lives.
like waist trainers and things like that. And I think what we want to cover today especially is why do people get influenced by these things, and how constantly searching for different types of content and consuming different types of content can be so counterproductive to your own mental health and your own personal progression, because you're taking somebody else's ruler and you're trying to measure your life with it.
Yeah. And I think, I think it's very important to say that most of the people that are, general population with some sort of goal, like a lot of people will say like, I want to look like X, or I've seen X looks like this, or there's a number of different influencers about worldwide currently who I would say that for females especially, and I'm sure with males also, but speaking from a female point of view, I've heard vague names come up in conversations which people obviously admire the physiques of. And what they don't realize is one, like, and having worked with all of these people, one, these people are either naturally very petite, they don't actually train very, very hard.
Or it's
They're
camera
genetic,
angles.
yeah, or it's in angles. And like I will say, and I think Mark will fully agree with me,
Yes.
having worked with the likes of those that these people admire, and either models, socialites, influencers. I'm not being a bitch here, but like none of them are perfect. You know what I mean? It's all done for structure. It's all done for.
I remember having trained a certain individual that used to hang out with other, let's say, quote unquote models. And obviously the three of them were going away to like the south of Italy or something to do a photo shoot for some lingerie brand or a swimwear brand or something like that. And she was obviously feeling very insecure about being around these other two women because they're in such great shape and blah, blah, blah. Look at their Instagram and yada, yada, yada. So eventually, just prior to them going, they all wanted to do a group session. And I just being not disappointed, but like the what you see on Instagram in reality was like, oh yeah, you could say you're kind of disappointed when you see them and you're like, wow.
I didn't even recognize a couple of people which are like big names, like worldwide, in the sense of, because they literally know exactly their angles. Like we've seen a lot, like, having worked in very private city, we've seen these people, and it's not to say that these people are not remarkable at their jobs or they know how to place themselves, but at the end of the day, it's an image you're looking at. It's a choreographed video that you're looking at. And that, if you did that yourself and you put yourself in the right bloody angles, do you know what I mean? You too could also look really like what they do. And, maybe these girls, they've all got different lives, do you know what I mean? They've got lives which maybe don't have that many additional stresses on. They've probably got a lot of finance coming in.
Let's just be brutally honest. Having trained half of these people, what do their days consist of?
Right,
Be honest.
so you've got...
Be honest.
You've got to wake up at about 9 a.m. They won't train any earlier than at least
Yeah.
10:30, 11. They'll come into
Exactly.
the gym. They'll have
Yeah.
one
20 minutes late.
20 minutes later.
Exactly.
And then they'll come in, waltz in, dressed dripping in designer, glitzy things, bracelets have to come off before
Yeah,
training.
yeah.
You'll be holding like
Full-
£500,000 worth of jewellery in your hand.
Full face makeup, hair blow dried.
Right, yeah, literally just come
just
in
in case they
asking
see
not
some
to
random
sweat.
at the gym.
Like,
Yeah,
please
don't
don't
work me too hard. I don't like these exercises. I don't like sweating too hard. I don't like being pushed. I don't like this. I don't like that.
Yeah, okay. So then they've left. So they've done their session. They do like extra fuck around of some weird stretching.
Yeah, posing in front of the mirror, usual.
Usually
let's
we have to
do-
be the
yeah,
photographer.
Yeah.
And then they would leave the gym to go to probably another private members club to go and have a lunch or a breakdown of a brunch, which is like one scrambled egg white with like half an avocado.
Yeah.
They then post that obviously all over social media. They
Yes.
then go and inhale an acai bowl in another place.
Yes, couple glasses of champagne.
Yeah, just at like
couple
11 a.m.
lines of coke.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then
And then they'll go to a physio appointment just in
Yeah.
case.
And then
and
dinner.
then they'll go
And then
back to the
dinner.
hairdressers.
Yeah.
You know, you think we're joking, but we're actually
we're not. We're not
like
joking.
literally. And it's not, the fact is that these are what, you know, you see stuff, the likes of like, Instagram and stuff, you know, Instagram was set up, Facebook's very different, but Instagram was primarily set up as a created feed of photos. And look, it's progressed immensely now into people being more real or showing more things. It's still not fucking
Yeah,
real.
it's fake as.
It's fake as.
And this is the thing is you've got people, ladies that will come in and be like, oh, you train X and she's so this and she's so that and I need this and I want that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're also, you know, the CFO of a multinational company where you're working from 6 a.m. pretty much until 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, hosting client dinners, or you might have a kid or two as well. You know what I mean? So it's like, how are you going to compete? And why do you feel the need to, you know, use some random person as your like measuring stick to success or personal fulfillment? Because half of the people that we do idolize, you know, it's their job to look a certain way
Yeah.
potentially, or to be a certain, it's not just looking a certain way, but for a guy you could look at, I don't know, someone like Larry Wheels who like squats 9 plates aside, and then look at that and go, well, I feel pretty inadequate, that's pretty shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think, interrupting you there slightly, like, you know, we always used to very much show our clients training on our social medias, and it was never really us. We had maybe a few of us. And when we owned our own gym and studios and whatever, like, obviously we did film a bit more content of ourselves. But really, honestly, the stuff that we've ever filmed, like, legitimately is the stuff that, like, members and our clients receive in the sense of video tutorials and whatever. And having recently, being very honest with like our people listening, having recently uploaded more of my training to social media, it's kind of fucked what you get in return, because it's like people are like, how are you this strong? And it's like, okay, you just haven't seen the last 10 years of my life, clearly. You know what I mean? You can't, it's like
an assumption that you've just rolled out of bed.
And it's also my bloody job. Do you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
I wasn't good at something and I didn't practice exactly what I preach, and I wasn't strong and I didn't do, then why would I be doing the job that I'm in currently? And I do see it as a slight problem. I understand it can be inspirational to people. Having been a female, very overweight, losing a lot of weight, maintaining it, strength trade, you know, people do get massively influenced by that, and that's what I've always found, and that's why I've always been very hesitant to show too much of what I look like and how I move, because then people mimic it. And I've even had clients in the past like 2 weeks go like, why do I not lift that? Why can I, you know what I mean? Or so and so. And it's like, look,
Yeah, because you're comparing
you're
literally
comparing yourself to
12
me.
months of
Yeah.
application to a
Years.
decade
Yeah, years and
of
years and
consistent
years. Yeah.
application. And this is I think what baffles people and is like, how do people do it? It's they make it a priority and they make certain things non-negotiable, and they don't allow their feelings to get in way of their actions. So if you're waking up every day and you're like, oh, how do I feel? I feel sad, so I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. That's when
Yeah, you feel even
somebody who
worse.
wakes up and they're like, oh, I feel like shit, but still go to the gym, still get their steps and still eat, regardless of how they feel, whether they're happy or whether they're sad, they're still completing the same habits day in, day out. That
Yeah.
is essentially how you get to a point of being, exceptional.
And like, like the application is something that you should never like actually underestimate. Like the amount of effort, like if I'm talking from myself or from Mark's standpoint, like the amount of effort that we put in to train, like we train fucking hard. Like, you know what I mean? There's not a
Yeah.
session that goes by where like we don't apply ourselves. And whether or not we have been super strict on our nutrition and everything's been ticked off the list or not, when it comes to our exercise regime or how we do it, we put effort in. And if the effort and the expectation don't match, you know what I mean? That's when you start comparing yourselves to others as to why you're not doing that. Me as a coach, in a way, you know, if you're a client, you've come because you want to learn. Do you know what I mean? You want to learn how to get better at something or to feel better in yourself. And I don't think it should be something that's negatively spurred on. You know, there's a lot of girls that are all over social media who are bikini competitors, and those girls have put years of work in. Not all of them, not the amateur ones. I'm talking like the pros. They have put years, and yet they still get asked, how have you got abs like that? Or why are your glutes like this? And it's like, do you not see the application
Every day.
every day? But you don't, because you don't see that. You see what somebody looks like, and you immediately focus on what somebody looks like to then forget about everything else they would have done to achieve that. And it's like what people do when they like, oh, so-and-so does a certain Pilates routine, which means I'm going to look like her if I do a Pilates. It's like, no, you're not. Unfortunately, you're not. A lot of these girls you're comparing to, like a lot of our old clients, they used to have full-time chefs, full-time people like cooking for them. You know, every therapist under the bloody sun. You know, that is a life that's not normal. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
and it's not. It's almost unless you're in that same environment, socially and economically.
it's
Then
fucking
comparing,
expensive. Yeah,
comparing,
literally.
when you've got a nanny 24/7 looking after your kids, you can go to the gym for 2-3 hours. You can go for brunch.
Yeah.
You can cook meals. People are cooking your meals for you.
I mean, there was a
It does become very, very different, and just people just don't seem to want to take that into consideration. And I also do think it's when people are not able to be consistent in themselves, and they know that themselves, it's always that external search for validation or external search for a new answer or something that is going to remedy the reality. Most people, when it comes to body transformation, people's biggest hurdles are themselves.
Yeah, it whizzes you. Like, you know what
So
I mean?
then they're
You know,
always,
you can honestly, no matter if the exercise selection is not exactly for you or whatever it is, like at the end of the day, it does come back down to you. Like, you know, we say this to clients, and do not think that we do not have clients that still literally backtrack the whole bloody time. We have people that converse with us on a daily basis.
you can spend hours just going through certain things, and then 2 weeks later they'd be like, I think I want to do a keto diet. And you're
Yes,
like,
I think
come
I should
on,
cut out carbs because I just think
come
that it's
on.
going to really help with my bloating.
Yeah.
It's like you're sat there and
You're
you're
like,
like,
I've just been
please.
going blue in the face trying to explain this to you. Why?
Why?
Oh, because I saw some random,
Yeah.
you
It's
know.
always because I saw somebody do this.
Yeah, it's always I saw or I read or I did something, and I appreciate the reason why, because the answer that we provide people is not very sexy.
Well, you
It's
can make it
not
as
like,
sexy as you fucking
yeah,
want.
but
Do you know what I
the
mean?
thing
Like,
is, it's the consistent same not droning on, but like almost to a certain degree monotonous nature of the same answer over and over and over again. And the reality is that the fitness industry essentially is kind of figured out to a certain degree. Yes, we might change our mind in the future on one or two things.
but that would only come down to whether or
The
not the
reality
science
is,
changed.
yeah, but it's still the on a macro level, the answer is always the same.
Yeah, and I think it's one also thing is that, people will package things up differently, as we always say, to sell it to somebody. And whether or not you're conscious that somebody's selling it to you or not, in a way, like, you make things sound better. Even some of the best fucking coaches do it. You partner things up so that it sounds better in order for you to then gain more, clients or finance or whatever. We've never really taken that approach with our business. And I'm sure many people who are business mentors of some degree would say, well, obviously there's that sales approach. Of course there is, there's a sales approach to everything. But do I feel right, like, chopping and changing to make somebody buy something? No, I never have. And that's why we won't do it. But I think for a lot of people, it's that whole thing of, well, if I do this, then I'll be like this. And, so many people want this really strict approach because so-and-so's done a strict approach, or they've told me I need to do this. And where you're getting this information from, I would just like to point out, none of these people are professional. Just because somebody might upload their training on Instagram or what they're eating on Instagram or on Twitter or whatever.
And especially in this industry where the barrier to entry is
so
literally
low.
zero.
It's literally, you don't even need to do anything. Just upload a photo of food. You could be a nutritionist.
The amount I'm a lawyer and I've just decided that I'm going to change my career and become a fitness professional with no qualifications.
But the thing is, though, COVID, I have to say that throughout COVID, and I'm sure people who have been in the industry and have done the time did see this as well. And I know I've spoken to a few people who have been massively affected by this, because as professionals, we have done years and years and years of studying, and not to be boring and be like, we've really put the work in to get qualified and to know what the fuck we're talking about and to keep up with the recent science and to keep up with the data. And somebody can literally just fucking write something and their body on Instagram and suddenly they're a professional, and it's actually kind of a bit like, why did I even bother?
You have to, though, because when you're client facing, and the vast majority, well, all of our business is client facing in the terms that we coach people, where other fitness professionals in the industry will have a makeup brand or a clothing brand where they generate X percentage of their revenue or their income or their living from something that's not actually coaching people. So we coach people and have coached people face to face for over and virtually online, but we are speaking to clients on a day-to-day basis when it comes to coaching and things like that. And
I think our brand is obviously our knowledge is very much obviously us, because we obviously are the ones
when you are people asking you questions, why does this happen? Why does this happen? Why does my back?
We actually have
the
answer.
You have to, and when you're in those situations as a coach and someone asks you, you can bullshit and just string a couple of long words together, but if you actually want to problem solve for that client, you have to learn the answer. So we've taken and gone out of our way to do extra learning and courses and so on and so forth, spending thousands and thousands of pounds.
The difference is we reinvested into being better.
When somebody asks you a question and they say, well, I've got this, I've got that, I am pretty confident that I can answer any question. And it's taken me almost over 15 years to get to this point where, I can say that with confidence.
Yeah.
And, you do, like Georgia said, you do get to the point where you're trying to instill certain things with people. And just because it's not flashy and glitzy enough, and people are just engrossed in social
people
media
will question
and
you
things
at
like
all
that.
points, and we're not afraid of people questioning certain things or asking certain things, but you're always going to get the answer.
But then it's the thing where it's okay, here's the answer, this is the answer is X, and if the person doesn't apply themselves, then they're well, that didn't work. Is it the answer or is it the individual?
Yeah, we start saying this to people though, because I've really noticed a massive upturn with just the general vibe, with just general population clients or whatever, where you just got to be brutally honest. So many people say to us, we'll sit on consults every single bloody day, do you know what I mean? And so many people say to us, I just want to make sure this is going to work for me. And it's well, it will work for you if you apply yourself. But if you don't apply yourself, no, it's not going to work because you haven't applied yourself. And this is the thing, it's the application that's always slightly suffering. And, also, if you're wanting answers to questions, not only are you in the right place, but it is that thing where you can, you can start hyper analyzing everything that actually is irrelevant to your own goal. And I find this so like counterproductive for people's mindsets overall, where they sit there and they literally think, okay, I've twisted one way, have I put my back out? Do you know what I mean? I think I've put my back out. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, I've got to do extra stretching in case I've hurt myself. And then it's like, my back hurts. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, actually just sit back and stop hyper analyzing every single move you make, because the more you do that, the more you're setting yourself up for literally, I guess, failure in a way, because every time something happens or goes a blip, or
there's only so much bandwidth that you can consume in terms of like taking in stimulus and then turning it around and turning it into action. And if you sit there and you're hypercritical of yourself and you're consuming so much content, J-Lo's doing a juice fast and Shakira's doing, she's hanging upside down 15 minutes a day and, all this kind of stuff, it takes away from you actually, being present in your own mindset and self-analyzing yourself and saying, okay, well, why am I not making progress if that's the case? Or why am I not doing X, Y, and Z? Or why do I feel this way? And it takes you away from being that presence, because you're just sitting there, just drooling on yourself, just scrolling and just being like, well, why don't I look this way? Why don't I do that?
Some people look fucking fantastic, of course. But again, we always have to analyze why they look fantastic. And when you're looking at someone and getting sucked into what they look like, how they dress, what they've got and what you don't have, unfortunately, like Mark brought up a point earlier, a lot of these people that are either, I wouldn't even say leaders, but they're influential in health and fitness to some degree, have got other brands in which they promote to take in money financially and a different source of just being influential. And,
are you the quote unquote leader in the industry if 90% of your revenue comes from selling leggings? No, not in my opinion. No. Because if you actually had to sit down and coach people, face to face or and communicate via email or, are you going to have the same level of success? Probably not, because the understanding is somewhat limited.
I think also it's really important to understand. Now, don't get me wrong, like if you're sat, we've had clients that have sat with millions and millions of followers, but that's because they're influential for some other reason, whether it's football or, you know what I mean, like they're known about. But following does not equal really that much, and especially now. And I think it's really important to know that, because we sometimes get people saying to us, like, going on a sidetrack, stuff like social media has changed a lot. We always say this. We've said it more prominently recently because we were shadow banned on Instagram. We have never really put out anything that's threatening to people. We very much took the approach that we wouldn't be invasive to people's lives and that we wanted to just educate people and to be that sign of just trust, I guess.
Yeah.
And looking at somebody and going, well, because they've got X amount of followings, they're going to be good at it. It's not true. No. And I think that, you might have loads of people sign up, or you might have a load of tribes, do you know what I mean, of all these people that are fantasized by what you look like, but it doesn't necessarily bring return of a successful business. The biggest success in a coaching job, and I will say this time and time again, is not bringing in hundreds of people on a challenge or doing this. It's retention of clients. And if you've got retention
and results at the end of the day,
but you can give somebody a result within fucking 8 weeks and they can revert within a day, literally.
That's
so
true.
It's like, we
That's
don't
true,
really
true.
Giving yourself a goal for 8 to 12 weeks is great. Do you know what I mean? It's short term, but can you change yourself dramatically? Yes, you can. But we always say after, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? What the fuck are you doing afterwards? Do you know what I mean? You can't just run your life for 12-week periods and then just get on and then off and then on and then off, because then you realize you end up in that really vicious yo-yo cycle.
Yeah, that yo-yo cycle.
To retain clients and to be that part of their life where they they, not only enjoy what they're doing, but they feel and they're invested in it.
Yeah, and there's also a level of understanding. Like you want to impart knowledge with onto your clients or the people that you coach, so that they can take the information and implement it without the need of having their hand being held. Where a lot of people make it so confusing, or they don't really educate people on why they're doing certain movements, or why you need to have, it could be anything really.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, if you don't follow me and you're not part of the tribe, then basically do
Yeah,
one.
you're a loser. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. But I think, for us, it's like it's something we see so often is where
Yeah, and then
people.
it's also like, oh, let me build a massive tribe, and then you build, a group of individuals, and I get it, I understand, but then you outsource it to somebody, some random person
Yeah,
that
everybody
then
does that.
coaches and then it's like, well, then who is the industry leader? Is it the person that is like the face of the business, or is it the guy at the back or the girl at the back
Yeah,
that is
who's
having
actually done all
to
the
in the
work.
trenches, who's having to fight with, oh, I feel horrible, how do I get past that? Because one thing about this job is, it can be energy consuming, in the sense that people are coming to you with problems, and the highs and lows are very high and very low. When people are feeling good, and they're progressing and they're seeing value, then you obviously, we take so much care and consideration, that you obviously genuinely care that people progress. So you're like really happy. And then obviously when people are feeling shit and down and self-guessing themselves, and you're having to then absorb all of that energy, and then try and get people to change their mindset, so that they don't then go into this yo-yo cycle of doing something, then not doing something. You're like trying to get people to essentially do things,
It can be quite deflating though. Like I have to say, like
and just, I hate
being
to,
really honest with you, I just think that like the process can be exceptionally deflating when you try and you invest a lot of energy and time into people that literally will then just second guess everything a few weeks later, or tell you that they think that they know better, or that's things where you're like, okay, we're not here to compete on who knows what, but why are you here in the first place? Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
You're here to learn, you're here to get yourself feeling better. And if people don't willingly do that, it can get to a point where you just think, well, was that a waste of time? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
but if you're not having to deal with that, and the consumer on a day-to-day basis, and navigate that successfully as a coach, then in my opinion you can't sit and say that you're at the top of the mountain, when all you do is brunch every day and just like do an Instagram video. You know what I mean? Where you're not actually coaching people.
Yeah, I know, but I think some people have always started with coaching people, and if they've become a success, I
And
mean, like, there's nothing you can really backtrack.
why has every person started off coaching? Oh, we're taking on clients, and then after a certain period of time, being like, oh,
Because it's a
let me
fuck ton
employ
of effort.
somebody.
Like when you take on, like we've got a lot of clients, we're very lucky to have that, but we work fucking hard for it. And at the end of the day, like not everybody that you take on are you going to have the best results with, or the best time with, or the best
Yeah.
relationship with. And that is just bloody normal. It's the same with going into a working environment. You're not always going to like everybody or think that you're the best match, in the sense of how we will always try and cater to all. We're obviously both female and male, which means we've got both the same but different insights into things. So Mark can have different strengths and weaknesses to what I have in the business, but at the end of the day, not everybody, and this is what we always say, we do get asked quite a bit, like, oh, what's your success rate with clients and stuff like that. It's like
It's
really quite,
100% with the people that apply
yeah.
themselves.
But if you don't apply yourself, but I think
It's
actually
yeah.
moving on from this, I think talking of like measure of success, more often than not, listening to family members can be so shit, because so many family members, and it happens in everybody's family. So like, I'm sure if you're listening to this, and you'll probably be like, okay, yeah, we've got that one person who has no fucking clue what they're talking about, but will still try and put their markers onto your life. And I mean, Mark will tell you, I've had many heated debates with certain members of my family on me being a professional and them not really knowing what they're talking about, but passing judgment on what they think or how you should do it. And me just being like, no, it doesn't work like that. And having a very heated, I guess, discussion with family members is that actually your marker is not something I'm going to mimic into my life. When it, just because you're family doesn't mean you've always got to do what some so-and-so's family member does or how they live their life. Like, it's the same with if you ever say to somebody, I'm on a weight loss journey. Oh God, good luck. Because it's like, I did, when I was losing weight, like my significant, obviously all the family had fucking caught onto it. I wasn't one of those people to like plaster it everywhere in any way, shape or form, but it was like, I think you should have the strawberries, you can't have that, you know what I mean? Oh, I've specifically made you your own side dish because I know you shouldn't be having carbohydrates. Heavy. Or, and it's like, at what point, do you know what I mean? And I've literally sat there eating a complete opposite meal to everybody else.
I feel like we should, at some point, we need to have like a Jerry Springer, Jeremy Kyle.
What, with my family?
Yeah. I think everybody needs to
I don't think that's welcomed right
everyone
now.
needs to punch it out a bit.
Yeah, okay, Mark, that's a very African way of clearly dealing with things. How many people have you punched in your family? Your brothers?
No, I love my brothers and my family.
Do you know what I mean? You sound like, this is what I mean, you sound like such a
I've been punched,
man.
I've been beaten up, and my brother listens to this. Yeah, he beat me up once when I was being annoying.
Did Andrew beat you up?
He punched me. He took me into the bathroom, and then he punched me in the stomach.
What I would have done is whack your head against the sink or something, like really brutal.
How hectic is that?
I actually can't believe Andrew would have done that. What did you do in return?
I was being super annoying. No, I was just like, he had his mates around, and I was just like
some rat
12,
of a child.
11, and I just wanted to be, with the big boys, and I was just probably being really annoying.
My sister will always remember this. Like, I used to kickbox when I was younger, probably because I wasn't an angry child, just had a number of different problems. And I think kickboxing really helped me have focus. And whenever my sister and me were in an argument, I used to just kick her directly in the stomach. Yeah. And she knew, do you know what I mean? Because I was always the bigger one of the sisters.
But that's the thing when it comes to sometimes with physical violence. You just assert yourself, and then the pecking order is...
I visually imagine myself hurting a few people, like, for example...
Okay, this is getting interesting.
No, like, I've never been a violent person, barring probably one occasion, and violent is not really the word, but we're not going to bring that one occasion
up. It's not violence, it's more like it's protecting yourself.
Yeah, I guess it's protecting. But
self-defense.
I'd say I visually picture hurting people, like, for example, when you receive, like... Well, last week, do you know what I mean? Let's go back to the landlords.
Trigger time. Warning.
When it comes back to getting the deposit. Yeah. And I literally was in the forest walking the dogs, and I was like, I can literally picture myself hurting somebody right now. Like, thank God nobody's around me. And like, I don't think physical violence is always the answer unless you're a boxer, do you know what I mean? But sometimes I do think that's the only way they'd really learn. And it's the same with social media. Didn't Mike Tyson say, like, if people
are too comfortable talking like they won't get punched in the face.
Like, if you ever spoke to the way that some people speak to you online or send messages in face to face, you know what I mean? You'd probably get really hurt. Like, and this is what people say about like trolling. I guess
there's that element. Like, we grew up in Zimbabwe with corporal punishment. So if you got in trouble, then you would get beaten by a member of staff, like the headmaster or the deputy head or the head of sports.
Do you think you're for that? Like, see, like when I was growing up, I think my mum...
like they used to, the Ministry of Education, your parents would have to sign off for you to get beaten, and Carol would be...
First off, literally,
she'd be like, "What did he do? What did he do? Yep.
Printed initials, literally.
Double time. Sign
I think
it
my
up
mum...
twice. So, I mean, I think...
I don't know, like my dad never
context,
hit me.
Like
Did your mum hit you?
Yeah, all the time. Not all the time.
No, Jesus.
Dad, I remember she would just shout, "Not on the head, not on the face." But like, Richard would give you blows to the body.
I mean, I guess that's quite a boys' family.
Yeah,
There
but
was,
we're also
there was
also
4 of you,
African,
do you know
so
what I mean?
we grew up in a generation where, you know, you could get beaten by your friend's parents. Like I got beaten by
Fuck.
one of my Daniel Nichols. If you listen to this, his dad, Mr. Nichols. You've met Mr. Nichols. He beat me
Don't dob
twice.
people fucking in, Mark,
No,
with their
but it's like,
names.
listen, every time I've deserved it. So it's never with like ill intention. It's always because you've done something that warrants it.
Okay, so are you understanding of the fact that when I've like tapped you, maybe I'll hit you in the stomach?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Domestic abuse. like where you get in my way, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? That you're now
yeah.
not saying that you're like a flower and you actually deserved it, probably. Do you know what I mean?
No,
But we
I've
do,
always like
we
every
are
time
quite actionable
I
because
got
I'm quite
beaten at
strong.
schools quite a few times, and every time I got beaten, I deserved it, 100%.
Well, my mum, I was obviously British, do you know what I mean, growing up. My mother was 100% black and blue by her parents. But, like, there was time... My mum probably only slapped me once, I think, from a general. And then there was an occasion where my sister, who, if she listens to this, inherently selfish, and she has been the whole way growing up, and she had this doll's house which she refused to allow me to use at all.
I would have
And so
broken
I
it.
bit her, like
Yeah, I
obviously.
would have just smashed it.
And then my mum, to get back at me, bit me back. And that's the only, I think that was when literally the only thing, obviously she didn't actually fucking bite me like a, you know what I mean? But I think it was the action of like, don't do that to your sister. But I don't think my father never smacked me. I think
No, it
that's...
would be weird if your dad hit you. Like, it'd be a bit strange.
But I think smacking now, like, it's so against the law,
no,
isn't it?
mum used to punch.
I think sometimes the only answer is just, can you just shut the fuck up and just like, not, I don't know, because I think that maybe I've come from quite a stable background, that maybe
Yeah.
it was managed, but, and I know that those that,
Oh, there's a lot of context. When
there's
it
so
comes to-
much context behind it, but do
Yeah.
I think that some people deserve it? Yeah, likely.
Yeah, the wooden spoon used to be my mum's favorite. She used to crack that over us. all
Well,
the
she
time.
actually unlocked the cupboards for her.
Yeah, guys, she used to get so angry. And I remember the one time I ran away and I was doing really well, and she
Did you actually run away?
Yeah,
Because
I was
I did
running
that.
away,
I packed up my
and
Louis
then I
Vuitton
tripped.
handbag and went to the end of the driveway.
Oh no, I tripped by the dining room table onto the ground, and she just whacked me.
I always used to do that. I'm going, bye everyone, I'm leaving. You all shit, do you know what I mean? Like, I hate you all, do you know what I mean? And then I'd literally walk to like the end of the fucking road and then be like, oh God, where am I going?
Oh no, my mother tried to give. I was kicking off once, and she tried to give me away. She was like, I was kicking off in South Africa, just like crying, being a brat. And then she was like, I've had enough of you. Dragged me out, and she was like, right, I'm gonna give you away. And then this dude, obviously playing along, he saw that I was being a brat, and he was like, yeah, I'll take him. And then I was like, oh
Oh,
shit.
shit.
He was like, no, give him to me. She was like, off you go. And
I think my mum's
and
only, she only said
that was yeah. And ever since then, I was like, okay.
I think I did probably throw a decent amount of tantrums as a child, but I don't think I was that much of a problem. I'm sure my mum's listening to this going, you were a fucking problem. But like, there was only one time, I think, when I was screaming as a child that she put me out on the balcony and locked the door.
Yeah.
I literally just hope I didn't
Yeah,
climb
which is
over the balcony.
understandable. Like, I've got zero patience for children.
Yeah,
so-
somebody asked me the other day, a client, like, when are you thinking of potentially having children? I just said, I just don't know. I've got it in me. I said, I've got so much patience for my job and like helping people. When it comes to a child, can I imagine just having to wake up all the fucking time to screams and... No,
You
and I
have
know
to.
people go,
You
well,
have
you
to.
outweigh it when you've had your child and it's yours. And I'm just like, really?
Yeah,
I'm
but I
just
also
not imagining
sometimes
that.
think that people have got. I'm not
That's
gonna
another
say it.
measure of success,
I'm not gonna
actually,
say
is a ruler of people's lives. And I think my sister and me have had this very heated conversation.
Yeah, the stereotypical go to uni, go to high school, go to uni, get married, have 2 kids, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and I think coming from a Jewish background, it was like, although our family is very small in the sense, well, it's not if you go into the people that we won't talk to, but like it's this sort of thing where like you would get married and you would immediately reproduce. And I think so many people are like, wait, you're nearly 5, because we're next year, we're 5, is it 5? Yeah, 5 years since our wedding.
Or 6.
Well, no, Mark, it's 5.
Oh, 5. Yeah.
And well, first one will be in January, the second in March. So yeah, 5 years. And
Yeah.
most people are like, why have you not fucking ejaculated inside of her yet? Do you know what I mean?
Because I like
And I'm just like, I just
This is
don't see it.
this is a very controversial statement, but having dealt with people, thousands of people over the years, I have observed that sometimes, not everybody, but the vast majority, this might be triggering for some people, might have children because they understand that they've kind of lost that love or that spark in the relationship. So they want to kind of tie each other down, because as you get older, you're like, oh, dating, the older you get, it can be a bit precarious, especially when you're in your 30s, around about that time where most people have children. They're trying to tie that person down, and then they have the kid, and then it's like
It's
that
happened. I've seen it
shared
happen a lot actually with
it's that shared
clients.
interest. Yeah, this is the thing. Is like I base my assumptions and my opinions based off what I have seen over the many years of the way relationships change and fall to pieces
Yeah, we've been through a
between
number of divorces,
between the
affairs.
actual between the actual parents, where obviously the stress of the child or children becomes overbearing, whether it's time, whether it's financial, fill in the
Yeah, I mean,
gaps.
and also
And
I
then
think,
those two people end up hating each other, and then it's like a life of misery until until the child. How many times has this happened? The child goes to university, divorce.
yeah, in fact, actually, I will never forget one of my clients walking in for a session, and she said, my husband's just changed all the locks on the house and he's refusing me to come in. He's having an affair. I don't know what to do. I've got to go to the separate apartment. He's changed all the, I can't get even my stuff.
Exactly.
My kids are in the house and he will not allow me in. And I was just like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, do you know what I mean? And she had to go and live temporarily in a hotel. Like, it is fucked. You do see it, and you as a coach of dealing with many clients going through this, it is a little bit eye-opening. Maybe it's too eye-opening
And
for
then
us
it's
to
also
actually
like, what
action.
happens if you just have a bit too much to drink, you shoot one past the goalie by mistake? And that's coming from somebody who I don't think was as a plan. I'm not exactly a planned child. Do you know what I mean? So,
You actually don't think you're a planned
oh
child?
hell no,
I don't know whether I was or
hell
not.
no, no
I
ways.
don't think my mum ever wanted just one child, but she never wanted children. She was
Richard had
also
a few
very
too many
like,
beers at the Harare rugby club. Do you know
and
what I
then
mean?
shot
And
one
just
straight past into
Carol
Carol
was feeling a certain way.
and was like, oh dear, here
There we
comes
go.
Mark. And your
And,
head was so
and what are
big
you going to
pushing that
do if
out.
you have you love that person, you have a child by mistake, and then you're like, well, you're not gonna, get a
Yeah, I mean,
schmishmorshman.
I know, but also you've also got to put in context what our job is. For many years, like we did go out and rage, but we weren't adamant that we really wanted to go and socialize or do things, because we spent literally on average 12 to 15 hours a day with different people. Every hour was a different person, different story, different background, different energy, different this, different that. And I think we were like, when we actually wanted to be around other people, we didn't really want to be around other people because we were already just
I was
very
talked out.
drained.
I
Like
was
Mark
talked
just
out.
napped on the sofa the whole fucking
Yeah.
time when he had a break. It was literally, we were talking about this. Our life used to be like just Mark napping, me going to Harrods, and then literally repeating that on a cycle. And then we'd go on holiday and then come back and be like, oh my god, fuck, we've got so much work to do. But it was like this cycle of where, like, in the way that our jobs work, like, we're actually having quite a big conversation as to whether we completely rebrand our current business, but it would be really hard for us to manage. One of my clients said to me the other day on my Facebook, she said, wouldn't it be really easy for you to have children in this job? I was like, no. I was like, not really. Do you want me to bring my child to the
Yeah, and
session?
there's nothing
Or
worse than, and we've been in the situation where the trainer brings the kid to the gym, and you're like, cute for like 5 minutes, and then your baby starts crying, and I'm like, why am I paying you?
yeah, like
20% of my session to hear your kids screaming at me.
it's happened quite a lot. And so, like, you've also got to think about, like, one of my clients said to me the other day, she's just had a child and she was like, I'm fucking broke. The child won't stop screaming at night. We've had to hire a night nanny because I literally am like losing the plot. I want to go back to work, like all of these things. Like, she loves her baby, but this whole thing of she's like, I'm drained now. Like, literally, she's like, got no
and
money
also,
left.
with it's the consistent need for people to look after the children.
I
Whether
do
it's a
think there is a
nanny,
rule though
but
for
like
women to like
I had
reproduce.
one lady, I would train her small child was like 7. You know what I mean? With a personal trainer in Kensington.
Yeah, I know.
Train him for 2 hours, right? So like, I wouldn't do like physical exercise. I would do like proprioceptive drills, sat on a balance, like catching hand-eye coordination. So it was kind of I was trying to make it quite relevant as possible. But directly after that, he had to have piano or French or
Fucking
and
French.
it's just because this lady just wanted to park off and not deal with her children. So she would, obviously they had the income, just line,
It's whole days. And if you've
the
got the
whole
income,
day,
fuck, go
the
ahead.
whole day,
Jesus,
where
the
the
whole...
kid is literally occupied by strangers because people. And this is the one thing that the trend, maybe it's because it's in Chelsea and Kensington, the trend to just have children so you can take photographs of them on Instagram but not parent them in any way, shape, or
Yeah,
form.
we know so many people like that.
Do you know what I mean?
Fuck. They'd be like, oh, come here for a photo. And then there's like a nanny in the background. And in fact, actually, there was one specific client that we had that she was adamant she was only ever going to be photographed with a child. No nanny was ever going to be present, but the nanny did all of the work. So it was like, smile for the photo. Do you know what I mean? Sophia, can you look at the camera? Sophia, can you look at the camera? Mummy loves you. And then it was like the nanny in the background while she starts screaming. And I guess having been around that, like, you kind of think, like, also dealing with the growing up of a child or into teenage years, we've dealt with I guess what you could say, the repercussions of how that parenting has then affected them later on. Like, we've dealt with children or teenagers that have very, very bad drug problems, or, go and rage, spend all of their inheritance if they've been given too much money at a young age and have no understanding of how to manage it. We've dealt with it all. And I think seeing it, I don't know, maybe we sound like, I'm sure so many people listening to this have got children. And I'm sure you're having a wonderful time. Like, we're a child of people, you're a child of some, you know what I mean?
Our parents love us.
I just think we're in a different generation. I don't think it's wrong. The amount of fucking times people have asked me, when are you having children? Oh, you and Mark not
But
interested.
it's like an automatic, like you have to do it, and if you don't do it, there's something wrong with you.
Well, I'll be brutally fucking honest. Like, not only 4 years ago did I go to a hormone specialist to be told that I literally could not produce progesterone in my body. So the likelihood of me being actually able to hold a child for a term of pregnancy was going to be minimal. Does that put you off? And did I do a lot of work to get my progesterone levels back up and take additional hormones and all of that? Yes. Am I in a better position now? Probably.
Yeah.
But do I want that risk, which I'm already clearly at a slightly risky situation, playing on my mind all the whole bloody time? No. And I think everything's possible. I know plenty of clients that have gone through IVF, but I just don't see my life
the idea
with a
of
child.
maybe adopting a child.
Yeah, I always said that to
Because
you.
we come from such backgrounds,
Privileged backgrounds,
even
I
coming
think.
from Zimbabwe, it was a very privileged upbringing. And having, been living in Africa and stuff like that, there are people out there that do not have a chance, regardless of
Yeah, and I think
how hard they work or what environment, the work ethic or the type of personality they have. They're always going to be
they're born that way,
to
to
an
not...
environment of like extreme poverty or stuff like that. So
You do see it, yeah.
giving somebody the opportunity to have a privileged upbringing and stuff like that sounds to me more.
It was always quite
appealing
controversial,
than
though, wasn't it? When people like, very
just
famous
another-
celebrities like
yeah.
Angelina Jolie,
Madonna.
went to Africa. Was it Malawi that they got?
Yeah, they're from Malawi.
That they adopted from. But actually, what they've brought those children into is something they would never have fucking had.
Yeah.
And actually, am I against it? No, in no way. And I always said that maybe I would actually willingly adopt.
Yeah.
I would want to potentially adopt a baby so that we... Like, my auntie's adopted, and she had, I think her mother had a number of different issues as to why she was given up at the time as she was. And my grandma thought she couldn't have children before she had my father. And, and they decided to adopt. But has, like, my auntie grown up into, yes, like, they've had a wonderful life. They've got, what I mean?
That's the whole point, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some adopted children wouldn't agree. I think there's always that thing of
I'm
where
sure
did I
there's
actually come
levels.
from? Do you know what I
there's
mean?
levels, I'm sure, where you...
I think you'd be very intrigued. Like, I'm sure if I would ever, I don't really know because I'm talking in hindsight. If I'd been adopted, I'd probably want to know where I came from.
Yeah, it's not the issue.
Some parents don't really want to willingly, like, have that, like, in case the child's come from a very disruptive background. But I think, yeah, adopting, but it's very hard to adopt. You need to go through years of processing. In fact, clients have adopted before. And I think, like, I think if there's the right child for you and your family and you're matched to like the right, then yeah, I mean, I just don't know if I can ever see myself pregnant. I'm so erratic anyway with just my period in general that I just think God help us all. Like I know I'm being erratic. Like, it's not like I'm not aware of it. I just think if I was pregnant, I'd just be like not glowing. I'd be fucking in a bad mood, and I would make your life a misery, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Just feeding me ice cream. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think. Maybe not. I don't know. You're just like until it happens.
Yeah, you never know until it happens, I guess.
But yeah, I think I would look into adopt maybe if we wanted to bring one in. But so far we've got 3 fur babies, and I'm just not sure.
That as a modern day married couple, that's enough responsibility.
That's enough responsibility. We own our own business, and we've got 3
three
animals.
Our business is our baby. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think like, should we also be maternity paid and all of the paternity paid?
Lol. I'm just gonna take 6 months off and be
you're not.
broke by the time.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if we've got a business of 2 of us, then it would be Mark having to, it just would not be possible. It could be possible. We would then obviously want to hire out.
But like, that's the thing with kids. It's like,
I also like to work.
The immovable object, you have to just get on with it. Otherwise.
I do really like to work, so I just don't know if I'm willing to, like, I wouldn't be that mum that would be able to, I don't know, I just don't think I'd be that mum that's willing to. Maybe I would be. I just don't think I can put up with the noise of a child constantly in my head. Maybe that's because when I walk around the supermarket now and I hear a screaming child, I'm like, why have you brought your child to the supermarket?
But I guess,
I don't think I'd be willing not to work and not go straight back into work and then I'd have to get a nanny.
But you look at the relationship that you have with your parents, and we are, like, I've got a very good relationship with my folks. Like, it must be quite fulfilling. That's why
they've had the children.
Yeah. So.
But I think my father would say it's absolutely like having 2 girls, you know what I mean? Absolutely, at the age of 14 when they clock on to like something that like is vastly expensive. Or I'm sure my dad's like, why did you fuck around so much at school, Georgia? Like, I was very privileged enough to go to a private school, and I fucked around. Do you know what I mean? And now actually, when you put the context of how much,
do you think your dad would have liked to have a son or a boy in the family?
I don't know. My mum was, I think, actually one of my clients was speaking about her husband, that she's got 2 girls.
Because your dad loves like fantasy, sci-fi, rugby. He goes riding, mountain biking,
I think
sailing.
Being honest with you, he was brought
so
up.
That's quite. If he had a son, he could have had. Well,
I don't know. You're just now answering the question with asking me in the same place. Yeah. But like, I think for my dad, my grandfather passed away when my dad was probably about 21, and so my grandma was widowed and has been widowed ever since. And he obviously had a sister, Caroline, who's obviously my auntie. And he was also brought up around his cousin Kay, who's obviously another female, So do I think my dad's got this slight feminine side to him? Like, God, my mother will tell you, like, my father spends so much money on clothes. Like, literally, my mum's even like, fuck. Like, he'll order things. He's worked fucking hard, but he loves clothes shopping. He loves looking and feeling good in the sense of what he buys. And I think it's slightly a little bit more feminine than masculine. So, I think that maybe, unless we did that to him, which I don't think we did, I think that's been...
Just crushed his masculinity.
He had very good female friends growing up who were like my godparents. And
squeezed the life out of it.
Yep. I think my father would say that me and my sister had probably drained, like literally drained. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think everybody says as long as it's a healthy child, you know what I mean? And it can, they don't really care what they have. Some people in some cultures want boys. Like my sister obviously my parents lived in Singapore for a period of time, and when my mum gave birth to my sister, like the first words that came out of Singaporeans were, good luck next time you have boy. Do you know what I mean? My mum's there just like pushed out a fucking child, like, thanks so much. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and then, so I know boys are very warranted in certain religions and cultures, same in Jewish, like you're always going to be favoured if you're a boy.
I
But
don't
girls
know.
run the fucking world. So without us, you'd all be fucking doomed. Here we go again with the feminists. Like, literally. But no, I think in general, I just think it's important that if you are sat in a position, we're still young, do you know what I mean? Like, but we are in that age range where where the statistical outlie of just having a child would
Yeah.
lie, and actually neither of us
And
really want them
we
right now.
don't, referring back to the whole point of the podcast, we don't feel obliged to measure our relationship or our personal or professional success against other people's
Yeah, thoughts and opinions.
thoughts and opinions. And my father always said, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one.
Yeah, and fuck me, do people have opinions these
Yeah.
days? And I
But
think,
just because someone has an opinion doesn't mean it's right. So
yeah, and I think, that all comes off of context and their own experience on things. And I think that's something you always got to remember. But I think, in general, this podcast is obviously very much to say, like, just stop comparing yourself and living your life through somebody else's life or how you want to see it. It's not the way that our lives should be running. We need to start seeing the reality of things and actually what your life is and not what somebody else's is. And if you're being pushed in certain directions where you don't feel comfortable, don't action on it. It doesn't have to be something because somebody's told you to do this, do you know what I mean, or you should do this, that it's necessarily right for you. So, stop comparing, stop seeking validation from those online that you might obsess over or fantasize living a life like that. It's never what it looks like.
and if you do that, just sit down, look at yourself in the mirror, and just realize that all the effort and energy you spend thinking about this random shit about a person that you will never speak to or probably will never even acknowledge that you exist, all that energy and all that bandwidth is being stolen from you
Yes.
applying that to yourself, self-reflecting, working on your mental health, if you go into your app right now, into your phone, and you see how much screen time you have on a day-to-day basis, half of that could be spent prepping your meals. Half of that could be spent walking. Half of that could be spent doing something that's actually going to progress you forward. Because how many times do we get, I don't have the time, or I was caught off guard and stuff like that? We've got time, guys.
We've got fucking time. And actually, the ones that always say, I don't have any time, are the ones that are first on things, and so, yes, guys, are like, our jobs is obviously very much online to engage with people. That's our job. But like, if you're spending hours and hours online, scrolling in bed at night, or, you're going to be consumed mentally with somebody else's life. And as we'll always say, and we can say with experience, having dealt with the people that people admire on a day-to-day basis, their lives are never as perfect as what you think they are. It is all created to make it seem like a highlight reel. So you just need to remember that do what is right for you and stop self-analyzing and hyper-analyzing situations where you know that you don't have control over. Most of these people that you look on a day-to-day basis have no fucking clue who you are. That's totally normal. We shouldn't know who everybody is. So just understand that their opinion does not match your life. And I think that going forward, it's only going to get progressively worse with the amount of technology is about. But just be conscious that if you're sat there scrolling and you're feeling shit about yourself, or you go, I don't have that, I want that, that is not a measure of success. You need to start actually putting that time and effort into your own life, because you'll start to realize that life's actually not that bad, and looking at what so-and-so's just bought, or the fact you've got something, what I mean, is not a healthy mindset to get into. So we're going to wrap up the podcast right now.
Well done.
Well done, Mark.
Well
I
done.
love the fact you
Cute
said well done.
pats on the back.
Pat on the back. I'm fucking starving right now. I need to go and
Yeah,
inhale
fasted.
some like.
I'm still fasted.
Oh, don't ever say you're fasted, Mark. For
I'm
fuck's
fasted.
sake.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
I'm
so.
doing a hyperbaric
Oh, you just ended the podcast with a load of fucking shit.
patella tendonitis fast.
Oh, I
So
love the fact
basically,
people
is
won't
we
even
could,
know what
yeah,
patella
but people will be like, "Oh my
tendonitis
god, I
is.
want to go and Google that." Do you know what I mean? That's how easy it is to just make up shit.
Yeah, so
I
patella
could sit here,
tendonitis fasting. Go and Google it. You'll soon realise it's
people will be like,
absolutely
"Oh my
fuck
god, I wonder
all.
what that is. I've never heard of that type of fasting." There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Shame on you.
Shame on you. Anyway, guys, we'll speak to you soon coming next week. We hope you enjoyed and have a good week. Bye.
Goodbye.